Good afternoon to our new members of the legislature. My name is Patrick Delaney. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Liquor and Lottery. Also joining us today are Deputy Commissioner Gary Kessler and members of the DLC management team. Deputy Commissioner Kessler will provide a separate lottery presentation in about 25 minutes. First, I'd like to welcome all of the new members to the 2020 incoming class of future state leaders. Very exciting to have you with us today. And I would like to acknowledge that the 60 minutes of valuable time you've allotted us today, we don't intend to waste. So we're going to be presenting you with a lot of information and hopefully a good understanding of who the Department of Liquor and Lottery is, what we do, we exist, and why our outcomes are important to the state of Vermont. I would like to share with everybody that yesterday, by the way, was a very important day in the beverage alcohol industry. It marked the 100-year anniversary of the beginning of Prohibition, which started obviously in 1920. During Prohibition, which lasted 13 years, all manufacture, production, sale, and transportation of beverage alcohol was outlawed in the United States. May I have slide 2, please? So this is really a wonderful opportunity for both you and us to get together, and ultimately our goal this afternoon is to provide you with a better understanding of what the Department of Liquor and Lottery does here within the state of Vermont. The Department of Liquor and Lottery, in its current form, was created in July of 2018 through an executive order issued by Governor Scott. The executive order effectively combined the two state departments that are business entities underneath the same leadership. When we use the term business entity here, I'd like to define that because that term may seem a little counterintuitive in a public service environment. A business entity in our particular case is a business model focused on generating gross income and net profitability and maximizing contributions to both the general and education funds. Both divisions of the Department of Liquor and Lottery run distribution and retail business models and are in the controlled substance business. We also manage licensing and compliance for tobacco products and licensing and reporting for break open tickets. Previously, the two divisions within the department had operated as separate departments up until January of 2018. And from a historical perspective, and Skylar, may I have slide 3, please? Or Tanya, rather, excuse me. The DLC was created in 1933 with the repeal of Prohibition. The department currently has 53 active team members. And the Division of Lottery, which was created in 1978, has 22 team members. So combined, the Department of Liquor and Lottery has 75 staff, team members, which assist us in undertaking our responsibilities. I think it would be helpful to spend just a brief moment articulating what the system of business that we undertake here in the state of Vermont with the Department of Liquor Control, Division of, excuse me. I'm referring to what we call the control state model. The control state model is basically a tax and regulated model for the beverage alcohol industry. When Prohibition was repealed in 1933, each state was given the option to manage and control their substance of beverage alcohol in any way they seemed fit. Essentially, when Prohibition was repealed, there were originally 20 states, and a control state by definition is when the state government is involved in the wholesale distribution and or retail of beverage alcohol. In most states, the retail focus is on distilled spirits. One of the components of a control state model is that the government actually assumes ownership of the merchandise at some particular point in time. In our particular case, the state assumes ownership of product when it leaves our warehouse and goes into our retail environment. Of the 16 control states that continue to exist in the United States, the neighboring states of New Hampshire and Maine are both also control state jurisdictions. And they all have a somewhat unique model, as all the control states do. In some cases, they just wholesale. In other cases, they just distribute. And in other cases, they just retail. And in some cases, they do all three. Obviously, in the case of Vermont, we do both wholesale distribution. I just described to you really what makes up the staffing of our collective department. I think it's also important to realize that the divisions within the department operate in two different physical locations. Liquor operates in Montpelier, lottery operates in the community of Berlin. Both divisions have two primary missions. The mission of liquor control primarily is public safety. We accomplish that through licensing, education, compliance, and enforcement. Generation of revenue is also a key focus, which we accomplish through controlled product pricing, distribution, and retail. The division runs two warehouses. And Skylar, if I may have slide number 4, I would just like to share some of the financial data with the committee. The Division of Liquor Control retailed 450,000 cases of business last year, generating gross revenue of $100 million with a general fund contribution of $26 million. Slide number 5, please. Lottery had gross sales of $139 million with a contribution of $29.5. My time is run out here, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to share the screen with members of our senior management team so that they can drill down in their different areas of responsibility and provide you with some detailed information about how we go about accomplishing our goals. So I will turn the screen over to Tanya. Who's next?
Kim Walker.
Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Patrick. I apologize. I think I might have moved one of your slides on you, so that could be my fault. I apologize.
No problem.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm Kim Walker. I'm the Director of Retail Operations for the Department of Liquor Control. This will be my 6th year working with the department, which has been spent modernizing our business model. In these 6 years, we've updated our IT system, whose register was from 1996. We incorporated the warehouse management system, creating one platform. Our team has created a SharePoint site to provide daily information to our retail agency partners, which includes contract information, accounting data, and other information concerning daily operations. We've created efficiencies in our inventory management with audit tools for the retail team and changes to our audit schedules in the warehouse and all of our agency locations. These evaluations of our business practices with purchasing has allowed us to utilize data reports from our new system to enhance our decisions and product distribution. Our retail operations team is a group of 5 individuals, 4 area coordinators and myself. One we were able to hire this past August. With our retail a volume of 87 plus million in gross sales. The state has been divided into 4 quarters, the Northwest, Northeast, Southwest, and Southeast, allowing our coordinator team to assist our 78 plus agency partners retail the sale of spirits in a safe, legal, and profitable manner. Tanya, if you want to go through 2 slides, I can touch base on those quickly. This is part of our IT upgrades, as you saw on that last screen. Go back one there too. Perfect. The one on the left is the upgrade of our POS system. The one on the right is actually our SharePoint site that we have for our agency partners. Thanks, Tanya. We are fortunate to have a great team here at the DLC, and we collaborate regularly. Working closely with purchasing, our team participates on the listing committee, providing feedback on new products in the state, collaborating with suppliers about retail pricing, support materials, and the opportunity to educate our partners and consumer base. We've developed quarterly reviews, allowing us to increase our product distribution based on sales trends and category growth. We develop materials with marketing, including our Vermont crafted signage, graphics for our ready-to-drink sections, and developing a classic cohesive brand recognition across the state. We review our distribution model with our warehouse team, communicate about inventory levels, and provide support during audit cycles. The incorporation of case pack quantities and master planning has decreased the overtime in the warehouse and has decreased the pressure on their team. Our master planning process creates minimum levels at the stores so that once the product is shipped, it's based on those actual sale turns. This allows the agency partners to spend less time on ordering and more time on customer service, especially during these COVID changes. We train, we assist our agency partners with register issues, merchandising, creating proper inventory levels, and assessing product sets. We work closely with our brokers and suppliers, especially our Vermont distillers, to ensure their products can be found across the state. Moving forward, our team is performing category resets at all agency locations to ensure the most profitable product mix is available at every retail agency, maximizing sale for all of our partners and increasing our contribution to the general fund. Our division is directly linked to the inventory levels across the state. We work on safeguarding the state's assets, maintaining proper inventory levels while we continue to sustain a 2 to 3% growth. This is outside of COVID sales, where our average growth is approximately 11%. And now I'll leave it to our next individual. I believe it's you, Skylar.
It's
Nope,
Teresa.
Teresa.
Thank you, Kim. Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Barrows, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications. And some of you might ask why a control state needs a marketing and communications department, and that's a great question. First and foremost, all communications from the DLC support the mission statement of the responsible sale and consumption of beverage alcohol. Most of the, you want to go next slide, Tanya? Most of these items are self-explanatory, so I'm just going to highlight a few of them. You'll see the rare spirits sweeps and raffle, and the difference between the two is in both our consumers win an opportunity to purchase a bottle of rare spirits. Rare spirits are not given away in the state of Vermont. In a raffle, you can purchase an entry for $5 in unlimited quantities for any of the offered products. The entry fees are then donated to a charitable organization. In the sweepstakes, you may enter one time for each product, but the entry is free. And the program has allowed us for a fair and transparent way to distribute highly allocated items, which in the past was just a sheet of paper with names on them when people would call in and ask for those items. The DLC has sold over $100,000 in gross sales of these products in the last 3 years, which has allowed us to give our agents an additional $7,500 in commissions, and over $50,000 has been donated to Spectrum Youth and Family Services, which is the charitable organization that we have chosen to go with. In addition, we've done some radio in recent years. We just signed up for a contract with VPR Underwriting, and we work with our national organization for writing grant applications. Next, Tanya. You're going to see a logo around the state, which reads 802 Spirits. This was created a few years ago. We now use it for all of our retail branding. It gives us a cohesive brand that we can use on all of our materials. And it is used anywhere we talk about the retail area of the DLC. Next, Tanya. From a communication standpoint, as you might have imagined, we are in all aspects of communications. And in this area, again, I'm going to touch on just a few of them. The 802 Spirits magazine is a monthly publication. You'll see it distributed around the state of Vermont. We also have an electronic version, which is on our website and is posted monthly. It features our monthly sale items, and it spotlights or highlights our agencies, some of our licensees, and local distilleries. One of the things I'd like to point out about both 802 Spirits and our newspaper advertising is that the advertising of alcohol is prohibited by statute. So the magazine and local newspapers that you see around, all the advertising is paid for by the distillers and suppliers. So you'll see on here that the annual report, social media, website, all of those are things that we're also involved with. Now I'm going to go through a couple more slides and just show you a few of the highlights, little visual aids here. Tanya, so this is a local store, it's Berlin. This is one of their gondolas with all of our products in the 802 Spirits, and then a window cling. And next, we have a wall border, which we have in all of our stores to highlight the area of the store which features the liquor area. In some stores, it's not as visible as others. And then last but not least, we have the OBDS signage, which we are working to increase more of these signs around Vermont. Most of you are probably aware that these are managed by AOT, and we are looking to increase them around Vermont to support our local stores. Thank you for your time. And now Chief Skylar Chinest.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to introduce you to my team and the way that the Department of Liquor and Lottery carries out our social responsibility mission. Next slide, Tanya. Pictured there is my team. We're comprised of 14 law enforcement investigators who operate in 3 key pillars. The first is our compliance program, our inspection program, and our criminal investigations. Undergirding all 3 of these pillars is a strong focus with data-informed decision-making, and we've got some tools at our fingertips that help employ data to make daily operational decisions about where we apply resources. Next slide, Tanya. So the first pillar, compliance. Most of this is probably, you may or may not be aware that we send minors employed by the state into establishments that sell both tobacco and alcohol on a routine basis to gauge compliance with those retailers for refusal to sale. We're required to do that by Title VII to all tobacco licenses in the state, and you're seeing a picture of some data that we collected for the 2019 year, where we touch every one of our tobacco licenses around 900 and change. We gauge compliance based on those checks, which helps us allocate resources to areas of the state where retailers are more likely to sell products to underage individuals. Alcohol compliance, very similar paradigm. We send minors into our alcohol establishments, both first class, second class, that's on premise and off premise, and gauge again their ability to refuse sale to our minors. We use that data to then further our next program. Tanya, if you'd click the slide for me. That's our regulatory inspections. So we wear 2 hats in the Office of Compliance and Enforcement. One is the hat of a regulator, the other is the hat of a criminal law enforcement officer. The regulator hat, using that vision and why compliance comes first in our name, is that our goal is to ensure that all of our licensees are operating in compliance with our laws and regulations. We do that primarily through our regulatory inspection model, which uses data for us to figure out where around the state our resources are needed the most. A ton of data flows into that algorithm, things like DUI prevalence, things like complaints, obviously our in-house compliance data. And what you see is a public-facing website which strategically directs resources to specific licensees where we believe there's the highest likelihood of regulatory issues. We visit those establishments, educate them on the issues, hopefully diagnose some of those issues, and the goal is that before there's ever a problem at any of these establishments, we can intervene and help them operate correctly. Next slide, Tanya. I mentioned earlier that we wear 2 hats, regulator and criminal law enforcement officer. All of the liquor investigators for the Vermont Department of Liquor are level 3 certified law enforcement officers with the same authority as the Vermont State Police. We investigate crimes that occur in and around liquor establishments, ranging everything from gambling investigations, embezzlement, fraud, human trafficking, really any sort of criminal activity that can and does occur on and around bars, restaurants, things of those nature we engage in. We obviously partner with our partner law enforcement agencies, including the state police, in joint investigations on a routine basis. But the reality is that enforcement often is not our preferred method of action. We really like to operate in that regulatory space. We like to encourage compliance and assist our licensees every step of the way to ensure that they have all the information and the ability to operate in a safe manner, just knowing that the retail of beverage, alcohol, and tobacco products has an impact on society. Next slide, Tanya. That's all I have. Thank you for your time. My contact information's there, and I do welcome you to the legislature, and I hope your time serving in this capacity serves the state well. Thank you very much.
I believe I have it from here. Good afternoon. My name is Martin Prevost. I'm the director of the Office of Licensing with the Division of Liquor Control. Next slide, please, Tanya. The Office of Licensing strives to provide timely processing of applications while helping the applicant navigate the many complexities of the alcohol beverage industry. The office endeavors to ensure that licenses applied for and issued are proper, necessarily, and issued in a timely manner. Next slide, please, Tanya. The licensing process. The licensing division is often the first contact for a potential licensee has with the Department of Liquor and Lottery. We work with the applicants to determine what type of licenses they will need to meet their desired goals. We also look at where they want or need to be in the future to determine if that path can be navigated with the licensings they are applying for and under current laws and regulations. The licensing office is staffed with 1 director and 3 program technicians. Those program technicians are also shared with the Office of Education and the Office of Compliance and Enforcement. We run a pretty lean staff, but we do it pretty efficiently. Next slide, please, Tanya. The Office of Licensing works with every town and city clerk in the state to renew and issue more than 14,000 licenses and permits a year. These licenses include restaurants that sell beer, wine, and spirits, commercial caterers for beer, wine, and spirits, retail stores that sell beer, wine, tobacco, and vape products, manufacturers for the production, tasting, special distribution of manufactured beer, wine, and spirits, wholesale dealers for the sale and distribution to retail establishments within the state. In the licensing year 2019 to 2020, more than $2.6 million in revenue was generated, with more than $231,000 of that money going directly to the municipalities. Next slide, please, Tanya. Technology upgrade. We are in the process of starting a technology project to replace our licensing system and our system in the Office of Compliance and Enforcement. Our licensing application process currently is primarily paper-based and requires users to print an application, manually fill it out, and submit it with supporting documentations and the fees to either the town clerk or the Department of Liquor Control, depending on the type of license they have applied for. The license is then generated and processed by putting it into our 30-year-old system and mailed, in this case emailed most of the time, out to the licensee or the town clerk to issue. The Office of Compliance and Enforcement relies on our current system data, but manages their compliance checks and investigations in a separate system. The new system will allow applicants to create applications, pay the required fees, and review the status of their license and permits online. With the new system, both the licensing and the compliance data will be available in the same system, which will improve efficiency, reporting, and visibility in statewide conditions. The new system is expected to be operational in mid-fiscal year 22. I thank you for your time, and I yield to, I believe, education.
Okay, thanks, Martin. My name is Eric Volk. I'm the Education Coordinator for the Office of Education. Been with the department just over a year. Although we have limited time, I'm going to try and give you a quick summary of what we do. But basically, we offer an assortment of training opportunities that are required by law to licensees to assure that alcohol and tobacco is sold and served in a safe and legal manner, and making sure that all of our education participants are aware of all the relevant regulations, training requirements, et cetera, that they need to be aware of in order to sell or serve alcohol. So if I can have the next slide. Great, thanks. We have a very small department or small office. It's myself, Eric Volk, Education Coordinator, and my colleague Jennifer Fisher, who is Training Specialist. You can see us here. We were fortunate enough to receive this year a Best Practices Award from the Stateways magazine, presented at our National Alcohol Beverage Control Association annual meeting. So you can see that award. If I can have the next slide. So a diversity of educational options, and we do some communication education efforts as well. The core of the courses that we offer include our first-class server training for bars, clubs, restaurants, etc. Second-class seller training for stores that sell alcohol or tobacco products, as well as manufacturer training, tobacco seller training for those that only sell tobacco, solicitor training, and common carrier training. So if I have the next slide. So the ways that we do deliver training, we have a diversified approach. to training. So we do deliver instructor-led training throughout the state. We do that prior to COVID in person as well as virtually. So we offer that in both cases or both ways. We do offer public enrollment courses as well as specific courses, both in person and virtual. We also do have a comprehensive online training solution, which has been very helpful to us during the COVID pandemic, where folks can take their course online and complete their training requirements, and we update that regularly, and that is available to our website. We also do offer an in-house training program, so this allows employers using our training materials and our guidance to deliver training to their employees. And we've recently significantly revamped that program and continue to do so to allow some flexibility for training options. We also do have partnerships with some third-party online training vendors to allow another avenue for folks to complete their training requirements should they so desire. We have a lot of larger businesses that may choose that route. If I can have the next slide. Great. As far as our impact, you can see that even this fiscal year, even with the COVID pandemic, we actually reached an estimated over 13,500 individuals. So you can kind of get a sense of, during this calendar year, how many individuals are trained with a variety of our training options. And as you can see, obviously instructor-led is down a bit, although we continue to expand our virtual training efforts in that realm. So we do quite a bit, as I said, in addition to what was quickly highlighted there, because I think I have very short time here. We also do community outreach, and we work in tandem with our health coalitions and other organizations throughout the state to make sure that alcohol and tobacco are served in a safe manner. And I think that's my time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric. I think it's up to me now to tell you a bit about the lottery. I'm, I don't know, either happy or sad not to have a PowerPoint, but I will try to use the time as quickly as efficiently as possible. So my name's Gary Kessler. I've worked for the department. It'll be about 5 years in March after Patrick started in his role. I'm the deputy commissioner in the department. And I'll tell you a little bit about the lottery. As Patrick mentioned, we consolidated with the lottery approximately, it'll be a little over 3 years ago now, since we joined with them. I didn't have expertise in the lottery, and the person who had been running the lottery hadn't been there for very long. They chose to depart at that particular time, and I jumped into the lottery role at that moment. The lottery was started, as Patrick mentioned, in 1978. There was a non-binding referendum in the state, and 66% of those who voted supported the creation of the lottery. For the first 20 years or so, all the proceeds from the lottery went to the general fund. In 1999, proceeds were then directed to the education fund. At this point, from 1999 to the end of the last fiscal year, the lottery's contributed a bit over $500 million to support the education fund. So fairly large amount of money. It's continued to increase pretty steadily over these last 20 or so years. As far as the lottery goes, from a staffing perspective, we're one of the smallest staffed lotteries in the country. We have a very lean staff model, and at this point, although we have 22 positions, we actually only have 19 employees. We had some retirements. We are looking to hire some staff to replace those. We have had a hiring freeze. We've been getting by, maybe not as efficiently as we could, to be honest. So in addition to hiring those 3 positions, we are looking at hiring. We have 2 temps now, hiring some, adding 1 or 2 positions to our headcount. And I'll just give you an idea about where people work. We have 3 staff members who are involved with customer service. We do marketing. When you think about it, that's really what we are. We're a marketing organization. We sell people an opportunity to play a game where they could win some money. We have game development staff. We have security. We have a warehouse. It's much smaller than the liquor warehouse, but we do pick and pack all of our own tickets that are sent through UPS to our 590 lottery agents around the state. We have retail staff or coordinators that work with our agents to make sure that they have what they need to sell lottery products. In the end, we have financial, because it's very important that we count the money and we do it accurately. So we have that staff as well, and then IT is also part of our operations. So to give you a little bit more information about what we sell, we sell a range of products. We have the jackpot games like Powerball, Mega Millions, Lucky for Life, Mega Bucks. Those are the jackpot type games, and those are actually our most profitable games. Typically on those games, if things are operating properly, it's about a 50% profit margin from those games. Then we also have daily numbers games like Pick 3, Pick 4, Pick 5, or Gimme 5 in that case. We have these fast play games, which are almost like it's an instant ticket, but it's printed, so there's no scratching. And we have a version of that game that we added some different price points to last year that's been very successful. And then 80% of our business is on the instant or scratch tickets that people are familiar with. Those are probably one of our lower profit margin games, but that is the majority of our sales, again, at 80%. So last year, our sales were $137.4 million in total. The year before, we had a little bit higher sales. I think we were safely on our way to record sales again last year until COVID shut down a lot of our and then a lot of people staying home, staying safe. They weren't out in stores as much, and so our sales dropped pretty precipitously for approximately 6 weeks before they recovered. So I would say this year, it would be, I'm anticipating that our sales will be something over $140 million in lottery products. Just to give you a sense about again, where the lottery is, we're a very small lottery nationally and internationally, but one of the metrics that's used to compare lottery sales is per capita sales. And so on a per capita basis, we're ranked 25th in the country, and we're ranked 35th worldwide. On that same metric. So we have 590 lottery agents, and last year we paid those agents $8.6 million, which they earned through the sales of lottery tickets. And really that's become a very important source of revenue for those agents, and even more so, they tell us, with the business slowdown that they've experienced. That's really helped them continue in operation. A bit to the per capita sales to give you an idea about what they are. It's $220 per person is typically spent on lottery products. And then again, back to the numbers, we paid players $96.4 million. So that's gives you a sense about between the players and what we pay to the agents is about $105 million. Now, another component of this and where the money goes is we do have a gaming system vendor that provides the terminals, all the communication that goes on, with our agents, and we're in the process now of a gaming system vendor RFP, which is the last time we did this was about 12 years ago. The contract ran for 10 years. We had to do an extension of that contract. We've now completed the RFP process, but have not completed a contract. There's some litigation, I guess, which isn't very uncommon in the lottery industry. People want to hold on to their clients one way or the other. That litigation, at least a component of it, is wrapped up now, and we're waiting for the court to issue its decision. We have selected a winner, and we're working towards getting a contract in place. That was quite a heavy lift for our staff, just to do all the evaluation of the proposals. The proposals were on average between 13 and 1,500 pages of material to review and have demonstrations, but I'm happy to say that we've moved past that evaluation phase. One important part of our business, both at liquor and lottery, is social responsibility. At liquor, obviously, we have education and compliance units that help with that. On the lottery front, we really work hard to try to help people that might have gambling problems. And we spend money both on national efforts, organizations that we're part of. We also have a grant with the Howard Center to provide treatment to people. And the real change in the last year in this problem gambling treatment is that we will now pay for it. So if someone has a gambling problem, that treatment will cost them nothing because the lottery will pay for it. And it doesn't matter what the problem is based on. If it's sports betting, if it's horse racing, if it's bingo, it really doesn't matter. If they go to casinos out of state and they have a gambling problem, we'll still pay for their treatment. They just need to ask for the help. All of our tickets have information about how to contact us and how to get help for problem gambling. I mentioned the RFP that we have in process for the gaming system. That contract will be for 10 years with 2 possible 5-year extensions. So potentially it's a 20-year agreement. The vendor would earn, depending if they earn based on sales. In fact, so we're projecting $80 to $120 million that the vendor could earn based on present sales rates and then our expected increases. And I wanted to just take a minute to talk about the future of the lottery. You'll probably see me over at the State House, well, maybe not at the State House this year, but maybe in some virtual meeting talking about this, which is a number of lottery expansions that would generate additional funds for the state. And these are taking place really around the country in other states. One of them is sports betting. There was some discussion in last year's legislature about legalizing sports betting. So again, that will likely come up again. Keno is another game that's typically played in more in bars and restaurants. That's been a little bit backburnered. The governor did propose that in his budget last year, both sports betting and Keno. But when the pandemic got a foothold here, we pulled back on Keno, and we did add iLottery, which is basically a lottery that can take place online, and it allows people to bet very small sums of money on some instant games that are played online. It also lets them buy other lottery products online. And one of the many states that have expanded in this area, it really allows them to connect with a younger demographic of customers that are more interested in playing online. So I think all 3 of those possible areas of expansion will be discussed at the State House this year, and I look forward to speaking to you about that and answering any questions you may have about lottery and lottery operations. So I think I finished a little bit early, so we have time for questions. I don't know, Patrick, do we want to have those asked live, or do we want them typed into the chat? Do you have a preference?
I don't have a preference. I did want to leave adequate time. If people would like to just voice a question, that's fine. If we have a backlog, obviously we can revert to written format.
And I would just say, and I'll hold this up because I didn't make it in a PowerPoint. We do have an annual report. Thank you very much for this, Teresa, who works on this so hard each year. You will be getting a copy of this, and it does highlight many of the areas that we talked about today in the presentation, and gives you a chance to study up on a little bit more. It contains all our financials, but also it really talks about what's done in each of the 2 divisions.
All right. Gary, thank you, and thank you for all the other presenters. At this point, I would like to open our meeting up to question and answers.
I see a question about being unable to open the presentation. We will. It is all being recorded, so we will make that available to people. That is the plan?
Yep.
Yeah, I apologize. I'll make that a public document. It's probably secured for credentialing, so I'll make it public so anybody can take a look at it.
There was one other question that came in about lottery, but I answered that in the chat during the presentation.
We have one hand raised here.
Yeah.
I'm not quite certain who that is.
And you're muted, actually.
Thank you.
There you go.
So my name's Tiff Plumley, and I'm from Chittenden 6-5, which was Mary Sullivan and Joey Donovan's district. And I just have a question. It's a pretty general question. Besides approving, I'm assuming that the legislature approves new products, the kinds you were describing, Gary, a little bit earlier, new lottery products, et cetera. But what kinds of issues from you all are likely to come before the legislature this year? And also, what are we likely to hear about from constituents that would warrant our being involved with you all, since I'm first-term legislator?
So on the lottery front, yes, for any of these expansion possibilities, we would have to get some approval from the legislature. A number of years ago, the legislature passed a law that did not allow lottery products to be sold in licensed establishments, licensed to sell liquor or beer or wine. So that included bars and restaurants. And so if we wanted to have Keno, that's typically sold in bars and restaurants, so we would need approval. Sports betting is not presently legal, so we would need approval for that. And iLottery would also need approval. So those are the topics that we would come to you to seek approval for. We did have some legislation passed last year that took care of a number of issues, but there were some topics that passed the House but did not pass the Senate just because of timing. We did get some communication from Chairman Stevens, which is our committee, and he's the chair of our committee of jurisdiction, about some of those topics. I don't know, Patrick, do you want to talk about those few items? I know they.
Why don't you continue that conversation, Gary? I was just writing a couple notes on some issues that are pertinent to DLC, which I'd like to share with the legislative group.
Sure. So some of the other topics, these provisions did pass in the House, and they weren't controversial to speak of. One had to do with festival permits and some clarification around those, so that we could have a uniform understanding with those who get the permits about serving size and quantity at festivals. Also, we had proposed some legislation that would share some additional revenue with towns for processing a certain class of license. I don't know, Martin could probably talk a little bit more about that if you wanted more information, but those are two of the issues that specifically did not get over the finish line last year that we hope we'll be able to get across this year.
So if I may interject, first I'd just like to clarify for the new legislators that our committees of jurisdiction are House General and Senate Economic Development. The DLC really has a few sort of housekeeping issues that carried over from the last session. It should be pointed out that we had a fairly extensive agenda which passed through the House, and only parts of it got through the Senate due to time constraints. But I don't think there's anything really particularly interesting being carried over. A few definitions about flavored tobacco, some definitions regarding festival permits that I think you alluded to. In terms of items that may come up this session, we did have some discussion last session about basically a proposal from private distributors, beer and wine distributors in the state, to essentially nationalize a portion of our business, which they refer to as low alcohol, which are products basically that are under a threshold of 16%, which we don't consider low alcohol. Basically, the proposal is properly characterized as a money grab. We've developed this business. The business is vital. It's thriving. And there was some support about just giving this business away to distributors because there was some perception that this was quote unquote low alcohol. That's an item that probably will come up. I think you'll find the department continues to be opposed to that proposal. We're looking at a revenue giveaway of about $500,000, and it's likely that may come up, and we'll have certainly additional opportunities to articulate the reasons why that is not good for the state. We also may entertain some conversation this year, depending on the administration's position, about allowing licensees to enjoy a discount on products that they purchase from the DLC. At this point in time, they, like everybody else, pay a standard frontline price. There may be some discussion in the upcoming session regarding to-go containers, a continuation of the COVID executive order stipulation allowing on-premise licensees to retail beverage alcohol off of their premises to go, which historically and currently is not allowed. The department has mixed feelings on that proposal. There is some national momentum in that area. We feel that it's conceivable if there's proper stipulations involved, but that's likely to be a issue that comes up this session. Do we have any more questions from the legislative group?
I do see one. They were wondering how the COVID epidemic affected lottery sales. And then someone also wanted more insight on Keno.
Sure. So it had a negative impact on lottery sales. As I alluded to, we had about a 6-week period where many people were staying home following the governor's directive, and many of our agents, some shut down because of concerns. Some decided that they were not going to accept cash, and lottery payments can only be made by cash payment. So that was a problem. And then there were some agents who decided that they were just concerned with the additional traffic that the lottery products brought into their business and wanted to just move people in and out quickly. And so they also stopped selling lottery for a period of time. So during that about 6-week period, we saw a significant decrease in lottery sales, which again, one of the things I mentioned was iLottery. States that had iLottery up and running see that same decrease because it allowed people to be able to continue to play the games, but not necessarily have to do it in the store. So there was some increase in iLottery sales that made up for the decrease in the actual in-person sales during that time. And then what was the other one, Kim? Keno?
More insight on Keno, and then Bon Norris does have their hand raised.
Okay, I can just briefly on Keno again. It's almost like a bingo type game. You can buy the draws happen you can set them up at any particular interval of time, but you could say every 5 minutes. And people can come in to a bar or restaurant. They can buy the game they want to play. And then while they're there, the numbers will come up on the screen, and they're sort of playing passively, effectively at that point. So that's how Keno works. Again, mostly it's sold in bars and restaurants. It can also be sold at lottery agents, and that's pretty standard, but it's played more frequently in more social establishments. I would just mention, because Patrick mentioned the break open tickets that we regulate. That is something that a lot of people don't know very much about. I certainly didn't know very much about it before I started at the department, and I was very, very surprised to learn how much money is being spent on these break open tickets, which is really just unregulated gambling in the end. Skylar, maybe you could, before I end this here, just tell me what the number was last year for if you do know from Keno sales report. I mean Keno from break open ticket sales.
Deputy Commissioner, I think the exact numbers eluded me, but the reality is it's multi-millions of dollars. In many ways, it's a shadow lottery that exists in our licensed establishments, particularly centered around service clubs. But I can tell you, in terms of my department's and my office's criminal investigations, break open tickets seems to become always an ever-increasing forerunner in terms of illegal activity that occurs. Just so everyone's aware, break open ticket proceeds are intended by law to only benefit nonprofit organizations for civic, charitable, and fraternal undertakings. We've seen in a number of criminal investigations where Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of these proceeds have been diverted to improper use, either through directly delivered to the bar owner or dispersed in other ways not intended by statute. So it is a problematic industry very clearly in the state.
And it is in, $50-60 million of or more in sales in that area. So it's not an inconsequential amount of money that's going in cash over a bar effectively. And ironically, the legislature decided a few years ago not to allow a very well-regulated product, lottery products, to be sold in places that sell alcohol. But we continue to allow these break-open tickets to be sold, and that is effectively where they're primarily sold, is in bars. So I hope that answered that question. And I see we do have a hand up here. So
Bon Norris.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
I fat fingered that. It's Bob Norris. Okay, not to be confused with Bon Jovi here. I apologize for being late, but I'm here. You've probably already covered this. Now, is it my understanding that portions of the lottery monies are distributed to the educational fund?
Yes.
And if so, how much?
All proceeds from lottery sales. So at the end of the year, we know what they are, but we make transfers monthly. Last year it was last fiscal year, $27.5 million. The year before was again, we didn't have the COVID slowdown, and it was $29 million that went to the education fund.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Maybe that's all the questions. I do see the question about was 50 million for the break open tickets. Was that the question? Yes, I think it's actually more than that. That's my recollection at the moment. We do have a way to track that, and so we could give you an exact number.
Yeah, I'd be happy to provide financials from 2019, which is the latest year we would have had those figures, but I can provide that to this group.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. Patrick, any closing remarks?
I would just like to, again, thank the incoming group for taking the time to connect with us. I would be inclined to share with you all that when Deputy Commissioner Kessler and I started our work about 5 years ago in redirecting the DLC and implementing a business approach to generating funds and really legitimizing the liquor division in particular, we had the opportunity, we actually made the opportunity to reach out to about 20 legislators, mostly committee chairs and so forth, that were pertinent to our business and basically ensuring that we maintained as a business within state government. There was discussion about privatizing the department at that point in time. What I'm going to share with you is that we met with 20 legislators, and 80% of them, the first question they asked us was basically, when are we going to go out of business? When are we going to privatize? We found that the level of knowledge about the operation of our department on a scale of 1 to 100 was between 0 and 5. The questions that we got were, in all things considered, quite surprising. So for us to be able to initiate a relationship with you, the future leaders of our state government, on this basis is exceptional. And we certainly appreciate the opportunity and value the time that you've given us to start the conversation and to start developing relationships. Moving forward, we'd like you all to feel comfortable in reaching out to us individually if you have questions that pertain to our areas of activity in state government. And I would simply like to conclude by letting you all know that you have a tremendous group of professionals that work in the liquor and lottery divisions in this state. I feel blessed to have the opportunity to lead the group, as I'm sure Deputy Commissioner Kessler does as well. So we have a bright future ahead of us. We're looking for your support in advancing our initiatives and continuing to improve our financial performance to the benefit of the general fund and the education fund. With those closing statements, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you.